Good afternoon. I am Dr. Doreen Lowry. I am the Assistant Professor of Sociology, Anthropology, and Criminal Justice, and Director of the Pan-African Studies Program, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the inauguration of our Arcadia's 22nd President, Dr. Ajay Nair. I have spent 28 years of my professional and personal life on this wonderful campus. I have seen buildings change, parking lots expand and go away, departments come and go, names of buildings change. I was here the night they called us at home on a Sunday and said, come on down, we're changing the name and we're gonna have a ceremony. And we had too much fun, all righty? But I have to say this is the top of the list for me. Dr. Parham told us yesterday, we hit the lottery here at Arcadia University, getting Dr. Nair. Today is a momentous occasion in our university history, as Dr. Nair is the first person of color to serve as president of Arcadia University. And among the first Indian American college or university presidents nationwide. A nationally recognized expert in student affairs issues and an accomplished social justice, race, and ethnicity scholar, Dr. Nair demonstrates the vision and leadership needed to reimagine liberal arts education, tackle complex issues in higher ed, and strengthen the Arcadia University experience for generations of students to come. He doesn't just talk the talk. He walks the talk, walks the walk, and he does it in style, grace, and humility. I told Dr. Nair when he came that we had his back. But sometimes, just sometimes, we need to say out loud to the person that we're telling this to. So, as any good hype man would do, and so he can hear us, all righty? On the count of three, and we're not gonna worry about saying perfect English, we're gonna say, we got your back, okay? On the count of three, so he can hear us, and this building, this tent goes up in the air, we're gonna say, we got your back. You with me? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. We got your back. All right, all right. Our procession today is led by distinguished guests representing 49 colleges and universities and educational organizations around the world. Our delegates include 8 university presidents, as well as vice presidents of student affairs, academic affairs, and campus life, executive directors, provosts, chief financial officers, trustees, deans, faculty, alumni relation professionals, and alumni. Everybody's here today, y'all. This is the big party for the day. Please join me in welcoming delegates of colleges and universities, learned societies, and associates from the order of the year their institutions were found. And I'm just going to name them, and they're here with us, all righty? Yale University, University of Pennsylvania, Moravian College, University of Georgia, Franklin and Marshall College, University of Vermont, Hartwick College, University of the Sciences, University of Toronto, New York University, Gettysburg College, Wake Forest University, Emory University, Mount Holyoke College, Bucknell University, Muhlenberg College, Washington University in St. Louis, Elmira College, Pennsylvania State University, Susquehanna University, LaSalle University, Foreman Christian College University, Cornell University, Pierce College, Lebanon Valley College, Wells College, Wilson College, Shippensburg University, Bryn Mawr College, State University of New York at Oneonta, Hood College, Gratz College, Adelphi University, Delaware Valley University, College of St. Elizabeth, Seton Hall University, Babson College, Solace University, Rosemont College, Gannon University, Westminster Theological Seminary, Manor College, Gwynedd Mercy University, California State University, Dominguez Hills, Montgomery County Community College, and Apia Tata Sadia University. We also have representatives of learned societies, professional organizations, and institutions. The Honor Society of Phi Kappa Phi, Del Mu Delta Honor Society, Association of Presbyterian Colleges and Universities, and Juan Institute of Graduate Studies. Next in the procession, which are being seated now, are the faculty of our colleges and schools here at Arcadia. Our faculty is followed by the university leadership, including Provost's Cabinet, President's Cabinet, Board of Trustees, and members of the Platform Party, and President Ajay Nair. Please join me in acknowledging all those who have joined us to support Arcadia and celebrate this new chapter in our university history. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Students, faculty, alumni, staff, trustees, elected officials, higher education leaders, and friends of Arcadia, welcome to the installation ceremony for the inauguration of Dr. Ajay Nair as 22nd President of Arcadia University. I'm Allison Madsen. I'm chair of the Board of Trustees here at Arcadia and an alumna, and I'm honored to be with you here today for this historic occasion. Now I would like to ask Reverend Rebecca Crate, pastor at Springfield Presbyterian Church and a graduate of Arcadia's class of 2009, to offer an invocation.
As we join together here today to celebrate and welcome the president at Arcadia University, we also gather together as a community to invoke God's power to be with us as we look to the future. Arcadia University is associated with the Presbyterian Church USA, which is a denomination that continues to strive towards justice and inclusivity. As an LGBT minister of this faith, and a proud alumna of Arcadia, it is my joy, my honor, and my privilege to offer a prayer to move us towards a brighter and more diverse future in higher education. Please join me in a time of prayer. Generous God, we thank you for Arcadia University and the robust diversity of the community that is gathered here. We are grateful for all the unique gifts brought here and pray that this is a place that provides positive transformation for all to be innovators and trailblazers here and around this world. Oh God, we rejoice that you call us your own, your beloved people, and may we use that love that you so freely give us to be people who actively seek inclusion, justice, and a voice for all people. God, we recognize that the world is not as you wish it to be. There is division, debate, and animosity from our city streets to the countryside. God, reframe and refocus our lens so that we might be a community that seeks commonalities and encounters healthy debate with love and understanding. Oh God, when our own voice feels diminished, bring that voice to light and offer us the courage we cannot attain on our own. When we see others whose voices are shut off, let us be your people that do not hesitate to advocate for agency and justice for those depressed by systems and institutions that do not recognize all as equal. In this space, we ask that you continue to cultivate a true sense of belonging, where students and faculty and staff not only survive, but thrive under the shelter of this institution. May we raise up leaders who have power, but rule with compassion and empathy, following the loving example you show us in Jesus Christ. We pray that you use this collective of scholars to exemplify a spirit of calm, of joy, of gathering together, where we learn to create a world that looks a little more like the world you called us to be. God of all, we ask you today and every day forth to build this community of higher education into one that, through your love embodied, strives towards justice, diversity, and inclusion in new and innovative ways. Amen.
Make them hear you. Thank you to the choir for that lovely performance, and a special thank you also to Reverend Gray for that inspiring invocation. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Joycelyn Orrit, Vice Chair of the Arcadia Board of Trustees and an alumna. I also had the privilege of serving as the chair of the Presidential Search Committee. During that search, we sought a leader who had the vision, the expertise, and the boldness that would project Arcadia forward as a higher education leader in the Philadelphia region and around the world. We are so very pleased that that search led us to Dr. Nair. Today we are joined by several dignitaries, including Pennsylvania State Art Haywood, Helen Gim, councilperson of the City of Philadelphia, Dr. Valerie Arcouche, chair of the Montgomery Council Board of Commissioners, all up here, and higher education leaders from as far away as South Africa. To all of our esteemed guests today, we thank you for your participation. Now I would like to welcome to the podium Lorna Stern, Vice President of Arcadia University and Executive Director of the College of Global Studies.
Good afternoon. Arcadia University is a community of scholars comprised of 3,800 undergraduate and graduate students and nearly 30,000 alumni. Make no mistake, students are the lifeblood of a university, and our alumni are our best representation of the Arcadia experience. It is only fitting, therefore, that we now hear from Alexandra Heilbronn, President of the Student Government Association and a member of the class of 2020, and Kerry-Ann Costello-Lararis, President of the Alumni Association and a graduate of the classes of 1992 and 1994. Lexi, please join us.
Thank you, Lorna. Good afternoon. My name is Lexi Heilbronn, and I am a junior biology major with a minor in Spanish on the pre-physical therapy track. I am also the president of Arcadia Student Government Organization. On behalf of the entire student body, I would like to thank you all for coming to help us welcome our 22nd president. This is a very exciting experience for the school, community, and especially President Nair, and we would like to officially welcome you to the Arcadia family. My time at Arcadia has been the best experience I could have hoped for. From meeting my closest friends, to learning about fruit flies and their embryos, to becoming an orientation leader and helping new students acclimate to Arcadia, to speaking almost fluently in a different language, and representing the student body as a student government president, my time here has been a dream. I've taken on multiple roles and opportunities that I never thought I could. I had always been an outgoing and involved person in grade school, but when I thought about college, my mindset was that no one would know me or want my opinion on different topics. Fortunately, this is not the case here at Arcadia. Through Arcadia, I have traveled to both Fiji and Ireland, and it's been through these experiences that I found my passions and am proud to call Arcadia my home today, tomorrow, and years from now. Calling this place my home, though, did take time to get used to. Admittedly, when I first got here, my intent was to stay a semester and transfer. As you can see, 5 semesters later, I did not. After a rough first semester on the brink of submitting my transfer papers, I decided to take another chance on this Harry Potter-esque school. I joined the orientation team, meaning I would have to come back the following year, and I met people who I will forever call my best friends. I never saw myself becoming a very involved person, yet here I am today. Because of all the opportunities and relationships Arcadia presented me with, and those who have encouraged me to make the most out of this experience, Arcadia has my heart. I hope that returning and new students will also find their groups if they haven't found them yet. Take a chance and branch out and attend clubs, join friend circles, or take classes that you never imagined yourself in. Arcadia is such a diverse place, providing new students with opportunities so that everyone can find their niche. I am very thankful for Arcadia and what this community has given me. Without the encouragement of peers, faculty, and staff, I would not be on this stage today to give this speech, let alone see Arcadia inaugurate a new and inspiring president like President Nair. President Nair, the student body is very excited to see how you will serve and lead us to reimagining the future of higher education from inclusion to justice at Arcadia. I hope you will love Arcadia as much as I do and become our knight. We are so excited to see what you will do for this university, and as a result, the impact that Arcadia will continue to have on all students, both academically and as a community, under your leadership. Once again, on behalf of the student body, I would like to welcome you, President Nair, into the Arcadia family and hope you too will call this place your home. Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Good afternoon. My name is Carrie Costello-Loreras, President of Arcadia Alumni Association and a proud member of the class of 1992 and 1994. On this day of great celebration of the installation of our 22nd president, Dr. Ajay Nair, we have the opportunity to look at our shared history, to reflect on the foundation that brought us to this moment, to offer our wishes of support to Dr. Nair, and to look together with optimism and hope into our future. From its inception, inspirational leaders that have served Beaver College, Arcadia University, and built it into a community that for over 155 years has educated men and women. From Bishop Matthew Simpson, one of the school's founders, who thought the idea of a women's seminary was needed and solicited donors to fund the school, to Dr. Riley Taylor, who served the school for more than 35 years as its first president, to Dr. Lynn Harris, who helped transition the school to Glenside, to Dr. Raymore Kistler, a name familiar here on campus, and others who guided Arcadia through the dark years of depression and wars, to Dr. Edward Gates, whose vision brought greater diversity to the all-female institution with the inclusion of males at the school and helped establish both the national and international reputation for academic excellence. And more recently, to Dr. Betty Lamon, who led us through the nation's economic turbulence, transformed the campus landscape with new buildings and improvements, and championed even greater diversity within our community. The inauguration of any president is a historic moment, but the inauguration of Dr. Nair is affirmation of the vision of the leaders who came before him through their transformative power and their shared mission of academic excellence, community engagement, and social justice. Today, higher education in America faces unprecedented challenges. College costs continue to escalate. Questions abound about the value of investing in what we have to offer. Access and affordability are on the minds of students, families, our elected representatives in Congress, and our own leadership. Arcadia University has long prided itself on rigorously evaluating how we plan our future, serve our students, support our faculty and employees, and live our mission. Going forward, our work requires us to maintain that rigor and still more. We must explore innovative solutions and communicate to all our audiences with wisdom and strength. We are fortunate to have a leader who has the skill and talent to face the challenges ahead. With Dr. Nair, we have a leader whose intimate knowledge of higher education, combined with his understanding of race, ethnicity, and social justice issues, and his unique perspectives on today's complex global issues, will serve Arcadia very, very well. Throughout this program, you will hear our shared aspirations, our collective endorsement, and enthusiasm for Dr. Nair as the university's new leader, and our challenge to him to lead us forward into new terrain where we will build upon our unshakable foundation of academic excellence while educating men and women through the promotion of social justice and in the spirit of Arcadia University. Exactly 30 years ago, I walked onto this campus a young, naive freshman, and now 30 years later, it still astounds me of the transformative power that my Arcadia education made on me and continues to make in my life. Thank you for joining us in this celebration of our history and our common quest to define and create a wonderful future together, ably guided by our remarkable new president, Dr. Ajay Nair. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie Ann, and thank you, Lexi. Montgomery County is one of Arcadia's closest and most supportive partners. Our students work in the community, and many of our faculty, staff, and alumni live in the county. But to effect change on the global level, you must start at the local level. And so we are very grateful to count Dr. Valerie Arcouche, Chair of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners, as a collaborator, supporter, and friend of the university. Please welcome to the podium, Dr. Arcouche.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Val Arcouche, Chair of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. On behalf of the 825,000 residents of Montgomery County that I and my fellow commissioners represent, I want to thank Chair Madsen, Vice Chair Orrit, and the Arcadia University Board of Trustees and Dr. Nair for inviting me to share this wonderful day with the Arcadia University family. For those of you who are visiting from other places, I want to personally welcome you to Montgomery County, a wonderful place to live and learn, to work, to visit. We're honored, very honored by all of your presence here with us today. I'd like to recognize and congratulate all of the faculty, staff, students, and alumni gathered here today for the inauguration of Dr. Nair as the 22nd president of this distinguished university. It is truly an honor to join with you today in this celebration. Montgomery County is considered one of the best places to live and work in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. An integral part of what makes Montgomery County so attractive is the strong draw of our wonderful colleges and universities, including, and near the top, Arcadia University. Arcadia attracts the best and brightest students from the region and the country. Once here, the outstanding curriculum prepares these students to be part of the future success of Montgomery County, our region, our state, and our country. Arcadia University is also a strong partner in our community and with the county. For example, in January of 2017, when the nascent Cheltenham Police Athletic League needed field space, Arcadia answered the call immediately and provided access to the dome. Recently, a partnership between the College of Health Sciences and the county's Aging and Adult Services Office will engage Arcadia students in designing and providing nutrition education to seniors receiving meals at our senior centers. This partnership provides real-world training for students and enables our county staff to focus on additional activities, a true win-win for all involved. I want to thank all of you for your contributions to the growth and vibrancy of our community. I'm confident that you will only continue to build upon your success as an institution of higher education with Dr. Nair at the helm. And I know that working together, we can continue to build an inclusive and respectful community that is full of opportunity for everyone here in Montgomery County. On behalf of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners and all of the residents of Montgomery County, I wish to congratulate Dr. Nair and wish him well as he assumes leadership of the university through a period of remarkable growth and achievement. And I look forward to partnering with you to achieve the goal of keeping our county moving toward an even brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arcouche. The roots of Arcadia's connections with Philadelphia run deep. For many years, Arcadia has forged relationships with city officials and organizations, with graduates teaching and serving as educational leaders in the school district, and members of the university community living and raising families in Philadelphia. Our next speaker is a dedicated champion of education for citizens and students of Philadelphia. Throughout her career, Helen Gim has fought for the well-being of young people in the city, leading a public schools agenda that contributed to the end of the 17-year state takeover of the Philadelphia school system. She has supported funding for pre-K programs and has focused legislative efforts on economic justice issues. And as the first Asian American woman to serve in Philadelphia City Council, she is one of the many trailblazers on our stage today. So please join me in welcoming to the podium Philadelphia Council member Helen Gim.
Wow, thank you so much. This has just been so fantastic to be here today to celebrate this enormous occasion. So students, faculty, Board of Trustees, Mr. President, I like the way that sounds, you know? It is my tremendous honor to come before you today to celebrate the installation of Dr. Ajay Nair on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to welcome him back home. I've known President Nair for almost a decade, and I'll always remember the email in 2012 when he just casually dropped this note that he was leaving Philadelphia for Georgia. I know our paths will cross again, he wrote, so today is a great way to fulfill that hope. Thank you so much for this opportunity to gather together and to recognize the enormous contributions of Ajay Nair and his commitment to a radical mission of inclusion, education, and justice, and in particular, racial justice. Today, as we witness the state of our politics, the efforts at division and fear-mongering, those who would have us fear or hate our immigrant, Muslim, lesbian, gay, and trans brothers and sisters, fear women who speak out against sexual assault, and Black communities decrying wrongful actions by the police and the state, I am here to tell this audience that this world needs Ajay Nair, and it needs all of us to commit to a mission of justice for all. My name is Helen Gim, and I'm proud to be a council member in the great city of Philadelphia. I'm a mom who raised 3 children in the Philadelphia public schools, a daughter of immigrants, and prior to coming into office, a 20-year community organizer in a city which labors mightily for racial and economic justice. I've always believed that the success of our city cannot be measured by the height of our downtown corporate towers, but by the health, hope, and opportunity we offer to each one of our young people. No city can be a truly great city unless it believes in and invests in its young people. For so many communities living on the margins of power and politics, we find justice through action. I come out of parent organizing communities, mothers and fathers, students and educators who turned a grassroots movement into an unstoppable political force that changed the leadership of our state and our city. It was this organizing that helped lead to an end to the 17-year state takeover of our public school system, and together with our mayor, established the first local school board in almost 2 decades. Now, I'll say it's really easy to talk about justice in the abstract, but the reality that the journey towards justice is not always safe, predictable, or polite. Democracy is noisy, and it's messy, especially when you're trying to navigate complicated areas of race, gender, class, immigration. But for all of us in this room, I know that we are united when we envision a different kind of politics that starts first and foremost with the people we love and the issues that drive us towards collective action. And here is where I've always valued my relationship with President Nair. Ajay always understood the connection between community, activism, and academia. He was one of the most supportive people in higher education when I was working on a federal case with immigrant students at a local high school facing racial bias and harassment. He opened his classroom to immigrant youth to share their stories and experiences. He understood that this area operates with a sense of searching for truth and justice, for centering the voices of young people, and with a deep understanding of compassion and humility. He understands in a deep way that our fights are connected, and that justice for any group will never be won in isolation from the fight for racial and economic justice and autonomy for all people. And as an Asian American, I cannot tell you how much it means to know that someone of Ajay Nair's character, someone with his background in student-centered learning and support, is now the president of this great university. It means so much. At this moment in time, to have someone of this stature and this character ascend to become the first Asian American Pacific Islander university president in this region and one of the few Indian American college presidents ever in this nation. It means so much in these times to have a strong voice for immigrants and the power of diversity in this moment. Inclusion is not merely tolerance, and diversity is not inevitable. It's a conscious act to open yourself up to the power of diverse voices and experiences, ones that challenge the privilege of some and call us to action for justice for all. Universities dedicated to the deepest understanding of critical knowledge play an unparalleled role in preparing the next generation of leaders. And when all of these come together, a leader, a mission, and a university, we have the makings for radical possibilities. And in a time of sometimes staggering inhumanity, here in this space is where we build the world we know to be possible. So thank you, President Nair, for returning to the Philadelphia area, for uplifting this wonderful university, for centering the voices of students in this room. Thank you, and I cannot wait to see what we can do next.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Elijah Wilson, president of the class of 2019. Today, we are not just simply reimagining the future of Arcadia. We're defining our responsibilities to seek justice in our communities, meet challenges with empathy, and use our voices to positively impact the world around us. Arcadia's commitment to supporting both local and global service efforts is something that is important to me and something I know is important to our next speaker. It is vital that universities establish mutually beneficial relationships with elected officials in their communities at the local, regional, state, and national levels. In many ways, universities and elected officials are working toward a similar goal: to improve the way of life of the constituents that they represent in their communities, in which they live, work, and serve. Arcadia is fortunate to work closely with a state senator who has displayed a long-standing commitment to education, beginning as his days as township commissioner. We are grateful not only for the work that the senator has done, but also the dedicated work of his wife, Julie Haywood, who serves as the president of the Cheltenham School Board. These two community leaders have touched the lives of so many students and have made a long-lasting impact on education. Please welcome to the podium another supporter of Arcadia University, Pennsylvania State Senator Art Haywood.
So I want to thank the board and all who are gathered here. Also want to recognize Julie Haywood, who is the chair, as has already been stated. Could I stand up, Julie, please? School board chair. Now, I have some words that really, to some extent, follow Helen's, but I think I'll change them a little bit so they'll still be relevant. First of all, I'm extremely pleased with the theme of reimagining the future of higher education, community, inclusion, and social justice. And we're right now in our nation in a real struggle with social justice, a real struggle. And I want to share, and I got really a charge for you. Dr. Nair, I got a charge for you. First, the first charge is related to, I think, is one of the top 3 issues facing our nation, and that is the issue of women's liberation. Now, I may not be the best spoken, I'm probably not the best spokesperson for women's liberation, but let me just share a few things. Number one, we are in a still space. We are still in the space where the voices of women are not clearly heard. We are still in a space where voices of women are not believed. We are still in a space where women earn significantly less per dollar than men. We are still in a space where women are underrepresented in state government, federal government, and the courts. We are still in a space where women's liberation is critical. And it is because of the voices of women, most recently, that I am confident that we can begin to make some further changes so that, give you an example here in Pennsylvania, we have more women running for state house and state senate than ever before. Than ever before. Some of them will win and some of them will not, but many of them will. We have women, as you may have seen, confronting Senator Flake, stopping him from going up on the elevator so their voices are heard. Women's courage is being felt throughout the nation. And here at Arcadia, with the history of Beaver College, I am certain that our new president will build on that history, build on those relationships so that Arcadia can be a new place for the development and the action in the struggle for women's liberation. Second, almost daily, thank you, almost daily we become of one effort or another to try to crush the brown people, crush the brown immigrants. We've seen on television individuals with their families and their children trying to make it into the nation, asylum seekers, and then the children are ripped away. I last heard there could be up to 1,500 children ripped away from their families. This is a crime against humanity. Last night I heard of a story of a girl named Helen, 5 years old, had been taken from her family, was told to go to court, went to court, and the prosecutors and a judge asked Helen, a 5-year-old, to make a decision about whether she should relinquish her rights to asylum or not. A 5-year-old was asked this question. She made the decision to relinquish her rights. Fortunately, she had a strong lawyer. She was able to reunite with her family. But this second challenge of how we deal with the browning of America is more than this instance. By 2045, census demographers say, and the forecasters, the United States will have a majority non-white population, 2045. 2020, that's only 2 years from now. In 2 years, they say, the majority of children will be non-white. This is the underlying focuses, these are the underlying forces that are creating this tension. We are in the midst of creating a new nation in the next 20 years. And so how we figure that out, we will need your help based upon your experience, based upon your commitment to social justice. The third theme that we have to resolve is not only making sure that we get women's liberation for full inclusion, that we bring the browns and the blacks in when they become the new majority so that we still have a nation and not 2 castes or 3. And the third is with respect to income inequality. We have desperate income inequality in this nation. Let me share a statistic I just heard. 62 American families own more than half of the rest of the world. Now let me describe what that would mean. That would be like everybody on the stage, we're the owners. We got to be the owners because they let us on the front today. And then everyone from here over, we own more than half. From here over, you don't count. We got more than half. This is the situation in our nation and in our world. And we cannot maintain a middle class. The middle class is going to be the source of our democracy without addressing this inequality. Now, I've been talking a while. You say, no, where does Dr. Nair fit in? He has said, no endeavor will better serve humanity than cultivating leaders who create systematic change and ultimately pursue real and lasting social justice he said it at Emory, throughout our society and our global community. No endeavor will better serve humanity than cultivating leaders who create systematic change and ultimately pursue real and lasting social justice. I believe in my charge to you, Dr. Nair. I submit to you that renewing this nation by liberating women, by including the Browns in this new majority so we have one nation, and expanding the middle class is the challenge for you, for us, and for this nation. And I am so confident that you are up to this challenge. You will be bold. You will be shrewd. I encourage you to undertake this endeavor with faith. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Haywood. To many of us, Arcadia's commitment to a global education is well known, and it is one of the many distinctives of Arcadia in which we take great pride. Working with higher education leaders is crucial in providing students with the best educational experience possible, and our next speakers are two such leaders. Dr. Thomas Parham began his tenure as president of California State University, Dominguez Hills in July. Throughout his career, Dr. Parham has remained committed to social advocacy, multicultural education, youth empowerment, conflict resolution, and multicultural counseling. Prior to being appointed president of Cal State University at Dominguez Hills, Dr. Parham held several positions at the University of California, Irvine, including vice chancellor for student affairs, as well as faculty appointments at the University of Pennsylvania, among his many distinguished achievements. Please welcome to the podium the president of Cal State University, Dr. Thomas Parham.
Good afternoon. Let me begin my remarks by providing a warm and sincere congratulations to my good friend, Dr. Nair, and his family on the occasion of this investiture as president of Arcadia University. I hope this academic and civic community recognize what a treasure you have in this president. He is unquestionably one of the brightest stars on the higher education landscape. And in reality, simple words fail to adequately describe the tremendous pride that I and others have in his ascendancy to the ranks of president, for in all the blessings that come from being entrusted with the personal and intellectual growth and development of students. Higher education needs champions. We need champions of what we refer to as that three-legged stool, which include academic and research excellence, access, and affordability. Indeed, you have one in President Nair. He is a champion. Now, the prophetic voice of one of my heroes, Dr. Martin Luther King, reminded us that our lives, ladies and gentlemen, begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. So beyond his academic and student affairs and administrative competence, this president, your president, Dr. Nair, has been a voice of uncompromising clarity on the things that matter in higher education and the world. And whether the vehicle be his scholarly manuscripts, articles in professional organization newsletters, or blogs on the social media stratosphere. Oh yeah, he gets on the blogs too. Dr. Nair has been a champion for student success, for diversity and inclusion, and for social justice. And so it is fitting that the theme for this inauguration week and investiture ceremony has been reimagining the future of higher education from inclusion to social justice. And I want to bring you greetings from the entire California State University system and all of my colleagues here in higher education. Our Chancellor, Timothy White, proudly acknowledges and represents one of the largest systems of public higher education in America at 492,000 students. but we could not be prouder from all the way across the country of your ascendancy to this role, right? You make us proud. Now, my career in higher education as an academic and scholar and clinician and administrator and now president has afforded me an opportunity to scan the landscape of higher education and take a quick snapshot of the academy. I've looked at its history, its mission, its goals, and the citizenry it has influenced. And that image reveals a portrait ripe with a rich legacy of transformative opportunities and an equal number of challenges. On the opportunity side, there are fewer places and spaces in the world where the generation, discovery, dissemination of knowledge and information is so crucial to society, and its people, innovations in science, engineering, mathematics, technology, education, social sciences, humanities, and the arts have given rise to some of the greatest intellectual and scientific contributions past and present generations have seen. How lucky are we to live and breathe and work and teach and discover and heal and interrogate ideas in this space we call higher education. That's an applause line. It's all good. But Dr. Nair, while the snapshot of higher education I previously outlined creates a portrait of an academy glowing in its own image and ripe with possibilities, I'm also reminded that whenever one takes a picture, there's always more outside of the frame than one can ever hope to capture within it. And if we are going to reimagine higher education, particularly in the area of inclusion and social justice, then we've got a lot of work to do. From where I sit, I believe that reimagining itself requires higher education approach what is the conventional in a very unconventional way. Higher education must be better able to distinguish between a segregated environment that is now what they call desegregated and what I call a truly integrated one. Higher education acts like we really value diversity, but in too many cases, we celebrate diversity and inclusion of different people occupying the same geographical space, which occurs on all of our campuses around the country. That, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is not integration, but rather desegregation. And institutions can no longer afford to measure diversity and inclusion simply by counting demographics. A truly integrated, inclusively excellent higher education environment, like Arcadia University aspires to be, must be intentional in its planning to ensure that all segments of the university family can see themselves reflected within the fabric of the campus community, including faculty, curriculum, instructional methodologies, co-curricular opportunities, and of course, your students. Higher education must also be more nimble in terms of the way we approach curriculum adaptation. When we adopt curriculum, right, we have to align it with the needs of the career marketplace, particularly with diverse students, because the needs of diverse students are sometimes different from their traditional counterparts. It's a very different reality out there for students who Derek Bell called those faces at the bottom of the well. Higher education must also be attentive to the demands of public and private sector corporate world who expect us to train workers to be successful once they graduate from our institutions. Now, I say that as a proud academic because that's quite a change for those of us who never believed that the purpose of education was to get a better job. I always believe the purpose of education should never be to get a job, because the purpose of education, true education, is about the cultivation of the human spirit and the human potential. But now, oh now, the times they are a-changing, and the public and state legislators and trustees of the board and national rankings and publications are demanding a more crystallized and tangible return on their investment. So we've got some different work to do. We've got to be able to synthesize those opposites in fruitful harmony. Higher education will need to reevaluate whether or not admission standards are gateways to privilege replication. Let me say that again. higher education will need to evaluate whether admission standards are gateways to privilege replication that allow certain people access to opportunity while others are left behind. The need to create spaces for innovation and creativity are not simply the recitation or dissemination of knowledge and information from textbooks or faculty members, right, from their research endeavors. We've got to be able to confront that. You will have to confront that. Higher education will also need to interrogate the intersections where pride factors versus human factors meet on university and college campuses. Let me say that again. You'll have to interrogate, right, the intersections where pride factors and human factors meet on campuses like Arcadia University. See, universities and colleges are notorious for touting institutional data that highlight the strengths of an enrolling class of freshmen and transfers. Yes? Right? The numbers of applications and selectivity in admissions, the average grade point averages and the test scores of entering students, the numbers of distinguished faculty admitted to various academic honor societies, the national rankings on publications and surveys that elevate the strength and visibility of a campus profile. Indeed, these metrics paint a very favorable impression of the campuses that we inhabit across the country. Pride factors get you admitted to colleges and universities like this one, and undoubtedly are the anchor to many points of distinction that highlight, right, this campus for prospective students. That's true. It also highlights it for the families that I've seen visiting and for interested stakeholders in the community. However, while pride factors get you into universities like this one, it is human factors that get you through universities like this one and life. And we've got to pay attention to the human factors as well. Human factors recognize that despite the institutional and personal metrics that characterize a class in aggregate, each student must contend with issues that involve the psychological, the physical, the occupational, the social, the economic, and the spiritual. In each of those domains, those 6 give rise to a host of intersecting variables like race and gender and social class and age and physical ability and sexual orientation, just to name a few. These factors will not only demand expression by persons in our academic communities, they will challenge the intellectual, the psychological, and the social sensibilities of our students, staff, and faculty in ways that institutions must address. Issues of free speech, hate speech, environments perceived to be toxic if they're not sanitized with the ideas of social conformity are all topics that we've got to address. And despite the fact of what Clark Kerr reminded us, that universities should never be in the business of making ideas safe for students. They should be in the business of making students safe for ideas. But the need for various centers across the campus in academic spaces as well that attend to these needs in phenomenological ways are manifest in the individual lives of students, right? In even pronounced way in this particular day and time, as our prior speakers have pointed out. As I close, reimagining higher education to be more inclusively excellent and socially just is not just an intellectual exercise, Dr. Nair. It's a pragmatic one as well. Imagination, ladies and gentlemen, is that mental process of forming ideal creations or visions of possibility and potential. It ought to focus less at Arcadia University on what is possible and what is right in front of you, on what is, and instead should focus on what could be. It's less about the comfort of one's immediate reach and more about, right, grasping for something that lies just beyond what one thinks is possible. It focuses less on the 8 out of 10 reasons why something cannot be done and instead focuses on the 2 out of 10 why it can. Therefore, I encourage you all, along with your president, to grasp for the possible and not just the predictable, to focus less on eradicating privilege and more on leveraging the knowledge you discover and teach and disseminate so that it can be used to help resolve the social injustices that are so pervasive in our nation. And so I imagine a higher education like that. Can you? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Parham, for those inspiring words of hope, humanity, justice, which unites us all. Did we imagine when we woke up to this dreary, rainy morning the sky would open and the sun would shine. It would be such a beautiful day. It's been unreal. My name is Ashika Susindran, and I graduated in 2015, studying psychology, music, and honors here, part of this Arcadia family. It's been a privilege. On today, October 13th, I think back to graduation. I think about, as Arcadia gave me the Senior Golden Disc Award, how they should have called it the Senior Boomerang Award, because you keep coming back. And I believe that, Dr. Nair, we have that in common. So with that, I'd like to welcome you and your family to Arcadia, to Philadelphia, to our Arcadia family. And let's imagine a greater future together. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And religions coexist too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world can live as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you.
Oh, that was great. Thank you so much, Ashika. We really appreciate that. We're so fortunate to have with us Dr. Alan Jansen, fellow South African, an accomplished academic, activist, scholar, philanthropist, and mentor. And he lives in one of the world's most beautiful cities, if I may say so, Cape Town. Dr. Jansen holds a PhD from the University of Cape Town and was a research fellow at Yale University. Deeply committed to matters of social justice, Alan, I'm going to call him Alan, was a founding member of the United Democratic Front Party under Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Dr. Ellen Boesak, and led the internal struggle for freedom and reform when the ANC leadership was in exile or imprisoned. Dr. Alan Jansen was a leader of the divestment campaign and served as vice chair on the Restitution Committee following the Truth and Reconciliation Committee findings. For over 20 years, Alan has taught at a number of academic institutions, both in South Africa and internationally. He is founder and director of Leadership Matters, an organizational leadership consultancy firm, and has been recently involved as an associate staff member at the Center for Coaching at the University of Cape Town Graduate School of Business. But most important of all, in my book, he joined Arcadia University in 2009. As the academic director of the Arcadia University's programs in South Africa, teaching the core unit, which provides all students with a foundational understanding of South Africa's monumental societal transitions. In 2018, Dr. Jansen was recognized for his excellence in teaching with the Award for Teaching Excellence from the College of Global Studies at Arcadia University. Please join me in welcoming one of the most accomplished scholars in the Arcadia University community internationally, and my fellow South African, Alan Jansen. Thank you.
You know, I was always the last kid to be picked on the soccer team, and I didn't mind too much. But when I was listening to Dr. Thomas there, I thought, I wish I was picked sooner. And I was very relieved by that Imagine song, which kind of just, got my thoughts together again. But I really am privileged, and I want to thank the board and President Nair for the opportunity to share with you today. My comments today will mostly be taken from the speeches of a man much older than myself called Nelson Mandela. And so that's the person you've got to be thinking of, even though you see a much younger fellow in front of you today. Because I believe that 20 years ago plus, as Nelson Mandela began to travel the world, receiving the hundreds of honorary doctorates that he got from various campuses here in the US and in the UK. In some of those speeches are the nuggets that we are only imagining or reimagining today. And so I want to capture those and leave that as part of the challenge with President Nair as he takes office officially today. Education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. Probably one of the most famous of Nelson Mandela's quotes, and it's repeated and printed in many places. And that puts a huge responsibility on us who fill these front rows in our wonderful costumes today as educators. Because if we truly believe that, we are in the most important business on this globe. And in an acceptance speech that he gave at the University of Seoul in 1995, Nelson Mandela spoke to this idea of higher education institutions being places that play a role in the pursuit of justice. He said the following: "We concur with Seoul International University that higher institutions of learning, such as this one, are not merely production houses of uncaring, one-dimensional graduates. We are at one with you that they are not ivory towers of self-fulfilling excellence. Rather, they are and should be the fertile soil of which the seed of democracy and human rights can sprout and flourish." He added that universities should play a central role, not only with regard to socioeconomic matters, but also in deepening the culture of openness, democracy, and justice. I hold the view that when a commitment to justice is at the bedrock of an institution, then we will see the inclusiveness that we all are imagining today. But the justice I'm talking about will have to touch every corner of our institutions, from our boards to our faculty, from curriculum to the deployment of our resources, from enrollment demographics to our funding. And so, as we sit here trying to reimagine higher education, I want to continue just lifting some of the thoughts that Nelson Mandela no doubt might have shared if we had the privilege, I should say, of listening to him today. He spoke a lot, firstly, about transformation. I mentioned earlier that a commitment to inclusion will of necessity require a commitment to justice. And I want to add that a commitment to justice will require a commitment to transformation at a structural level. This has been the ongoing debate in higher education in our country, as a new generation of students are asking questions, hard questions, about our strategic plans, our mission statements, our appointment priorities, our academic policies, our funding models, and now even the content of our curriculum. Nelson Mandela, on another occasion, receiving an honorary doctorate, in fact, multiple honorary doctorates on this occasion, from some of the leading British universities at Buckingham Palace in 1996, said the following: "We are busy transforming our higher education system from one that was oriented towards serving the interests of a small and privileged minority to one that is geared to helping meet the needs of all South Africans. As we do so, we are faced with many choices and many decisions." But despite the words of Nelson Mandela on that occasion, the biggest hurdle to transformation in South Africa today is dealing with generational privilege. Most of our institutions of higher learning are built on privilege, and in many cases, ill-gotten privilege. My alma mater, the University of Cape Town, which, by the way, refused me access when I was a grade 12 school leader, a top 200 ranked institution today is an example of such a place. It was built on ill-gotten privilege, and it is exactly that has catalyzed the students of today to rally around and form movements like Roads Must Fall, Fees Must Fall, and as I speak, they are very, very set on the decolonization debate. The transformation agenda is not new, but I do worry that it comes at a time when there are other competing voices. Voices focused on provincialism, self-interest, and the fear of the other. But secondly, Nelson Mandela spoke a lot about accessibility. And we've heard a lot about that yesterday in the panels. If we begin with a strong commitment to transformation as the just thing to do, then we will have no choice but to interrogate accessibility to our institutions. It's not enough to simply address accessibility as a policy or even a funding idea. Again, it has to be a reflection of our commitment to justice and transformation. In the case of underrepresented groups, and may I say especially less privileged groups, many institutions have thought that funding is the way to solve the problem. But I want to say, as I encounter young American students who come to Cape Town and other places, I believe the one thing we need to be looking at in terms of accessibility is the voice of those students. Without a voice, and I think Dr. Parham called it yesterday, that authentic self cannot be expressed. And I've had the privilege in Cape Town, as we host students from your universities, students from underrepresented communities here, many of them from African American homes. They are studying in classes of 200, 300 sizes. But they, for the first time, are finding their voices, because they are not part of a tiny minority as there are on many campuses around the USA. And I can see them blossoming as they find their authentic selves and begin to express their ideas and make contributions in terms of their learning. Let me share from where I have come very briefly. One of the hardest things for me as a person who lived through apartheid was not the fact that I was chased off white beaches. I couldn't swim anywhere at that stage. It didn't matter to me. You know there's a statement about black folks in swimming, you know. It wasn't the fact that I had to go around the back of a store to buy a cold drink. It was the fact when I sat in a room and heard folks speak about black folks in racial undertones, and I couldn't say anything. It was the fact when I sat in a classroom and I couldn't express my views. That is marginalization, and I'm afraid that is still the experience that many of our students, be they from the LGBTQ community, from the African American community, first-gen students, go through every day on campuses that you represent. That's injustice, folks, of a very high degree, and we are called to change that. But let me allow Nelson Mandela to speak to this point. He was speaking on this occasion at Amherst College, and he said this: "Today we ask Amherst College and all of America's great colleges, and I include Arcadia today, and universities to do more. The challenges of ensuring full access according to ability rather than wealth or privilege have not been met. Until they are, we will forfeit some of the talent and genius that the world sorely needs. We cannot afford that loss." Lastly, partnership. I am concerned as an educator, not only in your country, but in my country, of course, that we have fallen prey to one of the less spoken evils of our democracies, and that is competition. And when I look around and see the many small colleges and universities competing for the same dollar, and our resources are being stretched, and I want to suggest that if we do reimagine the university through the lens of justice, transformation, and access, perhaps we'll be in a different place. Perhaps we'll be thinking more of how we can contribute to the capacity building in our local community colleges, investing in our grade schools, and making a difference in that way. In conclusion, I leave the words of our dear Tata Madiba with you, President Nair. Again, he was speaking at Amherst on this occasion. All institutions of higher education have the obligation to open the door more widely. Above all, those who educate most rigorously carry the highest obligation. You have the quality, the standing, and the support to press further. I hope you will show the will. And I personally would encourage you and believe that Arcadia will give you the opportunity to incorporate the vision that I've already begun to be excited by. And I wish you everything of the best. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Ana Maria Garcia, President of Faculty Senate and an Associate Professor of Women's Studies. Today I want to share with you an excerpt from one of Dr. Nair's favorite poems. I must first admit to a bit of secrecy and deceptiveness, as I didn't know quite what to read that would be meaningful for him, and so I reached out to his lovely wife, Pyle, and asked her, what should I read? And so she came up with the work of a great Indian poet. So his favorite poet apparently is Kumaran Asan, and I'm going to read some of his words, but first I want to tell you who he was. He was a philosopher, a social reformer, a revolutionary activist against class distinctions and social injustices. As I read his work, I began to see some parallels between our president and the poet, some shared passions between the poet and the president. And I was excited. So thank you, Pyle, for helping me find these words. The poem is called Duravasta, and translated, it means the tragic plight. However, the lines and the imagery are not tragic at all, but rather they are tremendously full of promise and optimism, much like our day today. These are his words. Times have changed, and the strings of traditional customs are old and crumbling. The awakened people will not be bound down by these frail threads. Come forward with boldness. Replace your traditional customs and conventions, or they will certainly displace you. Echoing these very words all through the tumultuous winds of change, blow through Kerala today. Time gives the same message from all quarters, and the grumblings of unrest are surging from underneath our feet. President Nair, the faculty at Arcadia University are deeply committed to working with you as we support your vision for Arcadia, for the community. We work to support you, and we will continue to work with you to challenge and transform our students, to challenge and transform ourselves. The faculty is ready. It has always been ready, and now you are here. On a personal note, I want you to know that for 20 years, I have called this beaver, this Arcadia, my home. I have nurtured her with an open heart and loving hands. And it is with great confidence, great trust, and great faith that I give her to you today, that I entrust my Arcadia, my home, to you, Ajay. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Donnelly, and I'm a proud Arcadia alum, twice over, who is, I admit, a little bit starstruck to be standing here on the stage with Dr. Landman today. But I digress. Today, President Nair, it is my honor to welcome you on behalf of the Arcadia University staff. By now, I know that you've had the pleasure of working with our dedicated staff. Our staff assembly is composed of hundreds of professionals, many of whom are alums or family members of alums or current students. This university and what it stands for is a vital part of who we are, how we do our work, and more importantly, why we do our work. We typically view this work as distinct and unique from each other in many ways. But as I sat down to think about what I wanted to share with you today, it struck me how many common experiences we have. As Arcadia staff, we prepare. Sometimes we're preparing students for internships, and sometimes we're preparing meals in the dining hall. We prepare the incoming class for life at Arcadia and the graduating class for life after. We coordinate work-study students, short and long-term study abroad opportunities, employee benefits, opportunities for civic engagement, and even large events like this one. Our staff are fixers. We couldn't fix the weather for the whole weekend, but we did ensure that everyone assembled here today could stay safe and dry. We fix complicated financial transactions, and we fix sprained ankles. Sometimes our days are spent fixing IT systems, and sometimes my personal favorite, roommate conflicts. We clean up messes, literal and metaphorical. We counsel, we create, we advise, and we build. We are passionate student advocates, coaches, educators, and mentors who are dedicated to the continued success of this university. While we've been together only a few short months, it is clear that you understand why we are so proud of this place and the work that happens here. Dr. Nair, we are proud that you have joined us at Arcadia and proud that the experience that led you here today give you a unique understanding of our perspectives. My colleague, Dr. Garcia, welcomed you to her home, and I am proud to welcome you to our family.
Thank you, Anna Maria and Bree. Now, we have arrived at the portion of the ceremony where we will install Dr. Ajay Nair as the 22nd president of Arcadia University. Dr. Nair, would you join me? Dr. Jerry Greiner served as president of Arcadia from 2004 to 2011, a period of tremendous growth and stability for Arcadia University. In his distinguished career in higher education, Dr. Greiner has served as provost at Hamline University, Widener University, and in his current role as interim provost at Alvernia University. To present the charter of the institution, please join me in welcoming to the podium a man who is loved and respected by so many in the Arcadia University community, former President Dr. Jerry Greiner.
It's good to be back. It's a real honor for me to be here today to participate in this important ceremony marking an important day in the history of Arcadia University. It's my honor to present the charter of the institution to President Nair. I would like to read a passage from the charter of Beaver Female Seminary, written in 1853. While the charter has been amended many times since then, the charge to the president has remained much the same. An excerpt of that charter reads as follows: "The president of the institution will take the charge and management thereof in regard to the pupils and their care, control, and instruction. The president shall oversee the teachers and other persons engaged in the care and the instruction of the pupils." Obviously, a lot has changed in higher education since that charter was written 165 years ago. But, Dr. Nair, what has not changed is the root of that charge, that ultimately the president has the responsibility for managing the care and instruction of students and those who teach and support the students. For the modern-day president has several other important duties, such as fundraiser, collaborator, community leader, strategic thinker, decision maker. Nevertheless, the president must ensure that students receive the education they deserve. Dr. Nair, I present a copy of Arcadia's founding charter to you on this important day. Remain focused on this charge, and it will help ensure that Arcadia will continue to provide the transformative educational opportunities for which it has long been known. Congratulations. Arcadia is definitely fortunate to have you as its leader.
Thank you, Dr. Greiner. Of the 22 individuals to serve as president of Arcadia University, only 4 have had a tenure of at least 20 years. You heard them mentioned in Carrie Ann's speech. They are Reverend Dr. Riley Taylor, Reverend Dr. Raymond Kistler, Dr. Edward Gates, and the first female president in the institution's history, Dr. Betty Landman. During her tenure from 1985 to 2004, Beaver College transformed itself academically and physically. New academic programs were added and other programs expanded, especially graduate programs. The institution's global footprint expanded, as did study abroad programs. The pioneering preview program was established, and several buildings on campus were dedicated, including the Cook Athletic and Recreation Center, Knight Hall and Health Sciences Center, and of course, Dr. Landman oversaw the institution's change to university status with the announcement of the name change to Arcadia University in 2001. I should also mention that Dr. Landman has been a mentor of mine for probably over 30 years. So it is my privilege to welcome to the podium for the presentation of the chain of office, President Emerita Betty Landman.
Thank you, Madam Board Chair. Good afternoon. It is a joy to celebrate this special occasion with you today. I am sure that President Greiner and President Parham can attest, as well as many of the others in this room today, that the office of the presidency can at times be a little lonely. But let me assure you, President Nair, that at Arcadia University, this especially high degree of collaboration, creativity, and engagement will ensure that your being president will be one of the most rewarding experiences, because in this role, you directly impact the lives of so many students and so many community members. President Nair, remain true to your values, to the core values of this great institution. It is to those values and principles that will guide you to remain true to yourself and the mission of Arcadia University, and ultimately to the entire future success. Now it is my honor, or our honor, to present the chain of office. The Arcadia chain I've got it. Thank you. I'll tell you, it's heavy. By the time you got through with an occasion, you felt your shoulders kind of. Yes. But he's a good, strong man, so we're okay. There's a picture in your program, but the Arcadia Presidential Chain of Office was commissioned to commemorate the name change from Beaver College to Arcadia University. The chain contains a medallion with the Roman goddess of knowledge and wisdom, Minerva, seated in front of the rays of sunlight. Dr. Nair, may this chain serve as a reminder of the wisdom necessary to successfully execute the duties of being president. And may you always remember that the strength of this academic community, you carry on a long tradition of scholars and leaders, and we can think of nobody better suited for this position at this time of the university's history for you to become its president. Congratulations on this most deserving appointment.
The inauguration of President Ajay Nair marks a new chapter in Arcadia's esteemed history, which stretches back to 1853. Dr. Nair brings with him decades of experience as a leader and faculty member in higher education. He is a nationally recognized expert in student affairs issues, an accomplished social justice, race, and ethnicity scholar. They didn't know all this stuff. He has also published and presented extensively on the collegiate experience and on the responsibilities colleges and universities have in addressing multiculturalism, an evolving higher educational landscape, and teaching and leading to a student populace that is as passionate about and committed to social change as there has ever been. Throughout his career, Dr. Nair has shown vision, dedication, and a fearlessness that has led him to administrative or faculty positions at the University of Pennsylvania, Columbia University, University of Virginia, Emory University, the World Language Institute in South Korea, and now Arcadia University. Dr. Nair, you have been appointed to serve as president of Arcadia University. It is my great pleasure as the chair of the Board of Trustees to install you in that office with all its requisite rights, privileges, and responsibilities. As the head of the faculty and the chief executive officer of the university, You exercise a general supervision over Arcadia. You have power, on behalf of the trustees, to perform the requisite acts to make effective the policies and decisions of the board. By accepting the office of the presidency at Arcadia, you accept the charge to serve with diligence, dedication, vision, and integrity as you carry out the duties of this office. And I would be remiss if I didn't go off script a little bit and tell you personally, it has been such a privilege for the Board of Trustees to spend the last 6 months working with Dr. Nair. Yesterday, he made a comment in public about this was one of the first times working with the Board of Trustees that he felt that he could be his authentic self. And I say to you, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we will support and encourage you to do that on behalf of our students. This is where the fun starts. We have a special way of welcoming our newly installed president to the podium. Krishna and Ronnie Nair, the son and daughter of President and Mrs. Payal Nair, will share a creative way to introduce their father on his inauguration.
Arcadia Glen side is where I'm at now. Pops will take the brain and never back down. 1853 to 2018. 22nd press, so we know how the family. Arcadia Glen side is where I'm at now. Pops will take the brain and never back down. 1853 to 2018. 22nd press, so we know how the family. Time to take over from the castle up at top. Redefining what it means to be a brown boy every stop.
Good afternoon. The song you just heard was made by my brother, Krishna. He wanted me to tell you that you can buy his new album on iTunes. But I'll give it to you for free. Sorry, Krishna. He made the song in honor of my dad in Arcadia. But as usual, the younger sibling is going to do all the heavy lifting today. Before I begin the formal introduction of the 22nd president of Arcadia University, aka Dad, you should know that for many years I've endured great pain listening to hundreds of speeches made by my father. What was especially painful, though, was that my father included what he thought were cute stories about me in many of his speeches. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to celebrate my father today. Dad, since you love letter writing, I'll put this in a form of a letter to you for prosperity and perpetual embarrassment. Dear Dad, honestly, it's hard to believe that you are the president of a university. Remember the time you fell down the steps and were proud that you didn't grab the handrail and instead saved your laptop? Maybe checking email on a laptop while walking down steps is a bad idea. Not very presidential. Remember the time you woke up your children as infants every hour as we were sleeping to make sure we were still breathing? Not very presidential. Remember the time you took me to a Taylor Swift concert and fell asleep during the very loud concert? Not very presidential. Remember the time you taught Krishna to play baseball with unique training methods? For example, instead of using a baseball, you used a BB gun with those tiny pellets to increase his swing speed. As you say, he was stronger for getting hit. Accidentally, right? But seriously, there are a million other moments that I could share that paint you in a spectacular light. But I just don't have time to share that. As you know, after watching every episode of Grey's Anatomy and reruns of ER, I was inspired to be a surgeon. Or a professional dancer. You know, I'm keeping my options open. But since your appointment as president, I know little brown kids across the world are inspired by you to be a university president, including me. But the burning question is, how did a skinny little brown boy from Philadelphia, the son of immigrants, an Indian American from humble beginnings, have the opportunity to lead an American higher education institution? Simple. You're a phenomenal man and father.
As you know, your name, Ajay, means one who always succeeds, so it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that you are in this position. Friends and family, if you talk to my dad about his aspirations as a young person, he will tell you that he was convinced that he could grow up to be a superhero, like Superman, Green Lantern, or Spider-Man. Well, Dad, you did it. You are my superhero and a superhero to so many others. You may not wear a cape or have a magic ring. Instead, you wear a weird robe and a funny hat and lots of bling. I'll end by saying if you can do as well as you've done as a father, then Arcadia is in good hands with its 22nd president. Now please help me welcome the 22nd president of Arcadia University and my pops, Dr. Ajay Nair.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Isn't she amazing? Wow. Let me just say, when I got my email address, presidentnair@arcadia.edu, I said, I'm official. And then I got these business cards and I said, now I'm really official. So let me just for a moment soak all this in and ask you, am I official? It feels good. It feels good. Distinguished community servants, childhood best friends, loving family and friends, newly discovered cousins, patient and encouraging golf buddies, supportive board members, wise mentors, loyal alumni, courageous students, exceptional staff, brilliant faculty. I am honored and humbled by your presence today. What an honor it is to stand before you today on this beautiful campus. In 2018, we celebrate 120 years of our national historic landmark, the Gray Towers Castle across the green. And while this castle and this gorgeous campus are certainly highlights of Arcadia, the people are what make this institution special, and I owe a debt of gratitude to our donors, our facilities staff, and the committee of volunteers who put this program together. Please join me in a round of applause for all of them, please. In case you were wondering about that song that was played as I came to the podium, that was my wedding song. The song is relevant because the presidency is like a marriage between the president and the institution. In fact, many of my colleagues and friends first thought I was getting married based on the look and feel of the invitation. Let me just say, my wife wasn't pleased. Pyle, since we've got the making of a great wedding, let me take this opportunity to tell you how grateful I am for your love and for your support. You are my heart and soul, and I can't imagine life without you and our two beautiful and very challenging children. A presidency, however, is a special kind of marriage. My life is intricately intertwined with Arcadia, even after only a few months on the job. We have a special relationship, a commitment that is deep and profound. The university is my new, extended family that I hope to learn from and grow with for many, many years to come. I am grateful for the privilege of serving as the 22nd president of Arcadia University. I stand before you today as one of the first Indian Americans to lead a liberal arts institution in America. Much has been made of me being the first, a trailblazer, some say. I will do my best to live up to those great expectations, but the excitement has the potential to obscure the real issues at hand. issues that are part of my talk today. The reality is that the reaction to my presidency typically comes in the form of a binary that is prominent in society today, to celebrate or criticize. But what if there was a better option? What if our goal was to seek the truth? In our current world, the binary discussion of my appointment would look something like this. The criticism: a person's heritage shouldn't matter. One's merit is all that matters. The appointment of the first of any identity simply doesn't matter. Meritocracy is all that matters. On the other end of the argument is the celebration of my presidency because of my identity. This too can be a dangerous proposition if the celebratory aspect ignores the many things that underrepresented people bring to the table. If we could move beyond that binary, seeking the truth would reveal that less than a fifth of college presidents today are members of racial or ethnic minority groups. The number is even lower for Asian Americans. The search for truth would educate us about the history of Asians in America, that since the 1800s we have been contributing deeply to the growth and development of this nation, including higher education. But anti-immigrant laws, xenophobia, reminiscent of what we are seeing today, and other discriminatory acts prevented substantial immigration until the 1960s. The search for truth would broaden our knowledge and open dialogue. Friends, the truth shall set us free. In the role of president, I am privileged to serve my community by working to transform the higher education landscape through truth, justice, and liberation. This is not a stretch for Arcadia University. We have a long history of a pioneering spirit. Beginning in 1853, educating women in such liberal arts as ancient history, rhetoric, and logic, at a time when very few institutions were supporting young women and education. Our reputation in international education began when a professor and 17 undergraduate women experienced post-World War II Europe. And the theoretical foundation of writing across the curriculum in higher education started right here on this campus. These pioneering moments now seem monumental, if not impossible, in our current climate. The work in higher education today is not like it once was. The work of being a university president, some would say, is now an impossible job. A colleague of mine from Johns Hopkins contacted me a few days after my appointment and said, "Ajay, why in the world would you take a job as a president?" Now, I thought he would provide me with an insightful examination of the challenging politics ahead of me. Instead, he said, "You're just inviting more people to mispronounce your name." I wish that was the only challenge. But why is it so difficult and challenging to work in higher education today? Isn't higher education the idyllic place where faculty, staff, and alumni and community members can dream about the possibilities and go after those dreams with strength and conviction? An idyllic place to be, by the way, is the Greek definition of Arcadia. Unfortunately, darkness abounds, and newspaper headlines are ominous. Higher education costs too much and doesn't do its job. The crisis of race in higher education. Public loses faith in higher education. The end of the academy, free speech, and the silencing of dissent. Coddled kids crumble. Today's students are snowflakes. These headlines suggest a crisis in higher education, a decline in the public's faith in us, an existential crisis. And while there is certainly room for improvement in higher education, let me be clear. Higher education is under siege, much like marginalized communities are under siege today, and this is no coincidence. Our greatest threat, and the threat to our democracy, comes from the current war on humanity, a war that reifies the institutionalized mechanisms that cause our social, economic, ecological, and political challenges. What is missing from these headlines is an understanding of the forms of capital that our marginalized students must access and negotiate to succeed. An understanding of the activism as an important expression of freedom and speech. An understanding of the complexities of the social experiment we call our campus community. An understanding that when we ask our students to be resilient, we are asking them to stand tall only to get beat down again and again by cowardly acts of racism, sexism, and other forms of violence. The truth shall set us free. Now is the time for us to fulfill our promise by living up to the core values that we espouse. Only our moral fervor and our values are adequate weapons against the war on humanity. But can higher education serve as a social institution of mass democracy, as an engine of mobility for people and communities? Only if we live up to our values. These days, the values that we espouse that are justice-oriented make for good words on coffee mugs and water bottles. But core values are different. Core values serve as our moral compass, values that distinguish us and hold us accountable for our actions. The core values that help us practice community are open expression, courage, humility, generosity, and intellectual curiosity. These are the values that will help us rise above the war on humanity and help restore the public's faith in us as agents of change, a place where societal problems are addressed. But educational institutions must be willing to endure the pain of living up to their core values. These commitments will undoubtedly come under attack because the war on humanity loves a scapegoat, anyone that seeks the truth. Because the war on humanity perverts the truth and plays to people's emotions. Because the war on humanity is, as Orwell said, the human boot stomping on the human face forever. Because the war on humanity will crush you if you're not morally and ethically grounded. I am not asking for us to fight in this war, to succumb to the binary that obscures the truth. And we need the truth because the truth shall set us free. One of Arcadia's most notable alumni is Anna DeVere Smith, who unfortunately could not be here this evening because she is in production for a television show. In her HBO production, Notes from the Field, she speaks the truth. She tells the story of a teen who was brutally arrested in her South Carolina classroom, of the deli worker who videotaped the beating of Baltimore's Freddie Gray, the woman who climbed the flagpole to remove the Confederate flag in South Carolina. Smith does her part to dismantle the falsehoods spread by the war on humanity. But we cannot and should not fight in this war in the traditional sense. The binary choice of truth must be rejected, as Smith does through her art and through her values. Through her drama, she allows the audience to search for their truth. The truth shall set us free. To serve as a moral compass for our nation, the university must tackle the most pressing issues facing society. Just recently, Arcadia received a Department of Justice grant from the Office of Violence Against Women. This grant will help us discover new ways of reducing sexual violence and creating a more just campus community. We have also made substantial progress in providing access to higher education. More than a third of our new incoming undergraduate students are low-income students. 1/3 are first-generation college students. But this is just the beginning. To be successful, we must challenge American higher education exceptionalism. We are not exempt from the socio-political, economic, and cultural dilemmas of the world, yet too often we turn a blind eye. And we are not exempt from our own histories. We must write the next chapter of our history and be truthful about the language of access, diversity, and inclusion. As we know, in American higher education, our students have challenged our hackneyed and self-congratulatory narrative. I'm not proposing that we become the University of the Left or Social Justice U, but I am proposing that we be ideologically grounded, that we are positioned to do the right thing. The notion of an ideologically grounded institution can, of course, be problematic if it limits diversity of thought. So it is imperative that an institution's ideological grounding is not a political position in the traditional sense, but a way for the institution to understand the politics of the world around us, an institutional vision for truth in motion, guided by our community's shared passions, values, and commitments, an acknowledgement that there is no such thing as purity in ideas. Ideology then becomes a work of art, fluid, in motion, arrested only in urgency. Our critique of the war on humanity should focus on systems, structures, and perceptions rather than an ambiguous enemy. There is no single enemy. If we create an us versus them paradigm, we will fall into the trap of ignoring the complexities of the challenges we face to become a more just society. To be sure, the university must be vigilant in its protection of the scholarly community's ability and freedom to pursue new viewpoints. to pursue the truth. My proposition is that justice should be a goal and priority for higher education, imbued with the values that reimagine our roots of exclusion to a future state, where the paradox of preaching inclusivity and diversity while increasing our exclusivity is addressed through a new paradigm of higher education. In our current paradigm, the university cannot be the primary site for effecting positive social change, especially since many of our values push us to educate only a small segment of our community. So it is my belief that our justice work must focus on all of education, not just higher education. We cannot call ourselves anchors, community anchors, if our ships have set sail with no one from the community on board. As Stephen Metcalf suggests, we must also change our view of society as a kind of universal market, as profit and loss calculators, to community as polis, the bearers of grace, a family, people with inalienable rights and duties. Then perhaps the war on humanity that plagues the United States will become a search for humanity, a search for truth. The truth shall set us free. And when society, understood in different terms, confronts itself on our campuses, we are then seeking justice. If diversity and inclusion at its best asks who's at the table and ensures everyone's voice is heard, justice will ask for the truth and will push for structural, permanent change by redefining the center, by reimagining the boundaries of our relationships bound by power, hierarchy, and control. The truth shall set us free. Justice, then, is the wholeness, the rightness, the wellness of people and their communities. As we know, our communities are fractured. The rhetoric of diversity and inclusion have obscured the harsh reality of those anchored in despair. In the context of higher education, access is still out of reach for far too many. Our educational community is a tool to address these global issues. We are training the next generation of change agents. Our faculty are solving serious problems and searching for the truth. In this way, justice is served when people find value in the work they do and can flourish in society. This is the future of Arcadia, and I hope the future of higher education. The truth shall set us free. An important part of justice is understanding how to live. Too many of us dismiss our personal needs, especially in regards to how to live and cope in a world filled with oppression. We need to be free from our own self-imposed prison, and to do so, we need each other. We need our community, and we need our flourishing selves, which is what this inauguration is all about. It is about all of us, our liberation, our legacy, and the good we will do for each other, ourselves, and the world. And Arcadia education will prepare its students to do good and to live well. I end today by sharing with you a profound message I received from my cousin in India this past summer. When my cousin learned about my appointment as president, he wrote, "Heartiest congratulations to Ajay. Like the Greek god Pan, who returns to his homeland, Arcadia, so also Ajay returns to Philadelphia. May God be with him in all of his endeavors." My mother was literally weeping, saying that Ajay's mother up above will be very proud as her sacrifices have borne fruit. Although her words in no measure reduce the impact of any person connected to Ajay's successes or belittles any efforts, including his own, a generation who makes grand efforts for their children is coming to an end in this hedonistic world of today. Ajay will repay his societal obligations. My societal obligation, our societal obligation, is to rebuild our community and ourselves to restore humanity. This is a watershed moment for higher education in the world. We have a unique opportunity to reimagine our work on justice, to learn from our history and move beyond it by redefining our role as institutions of learning. This is a moment that affords us a chance to respond with sincere compassion and true justice, to finally transform into reality the vision of our campus communities as caring and diverse centers of learning, where all students are afforded equitable access to opportunities to grow and learn and contribute to the greater good. Now more than ever before, we need higher education's moral and intellectual leadership, not the leadership of coercion and hegemony that plagues our world today. We need leadership to inspire dynamic social movements of transformation. We need leaders that can promote new ideas and challenge old ways of operating. We need leaders that are committed to justice, leaders that can problem solve and think critically, leaders that are thoughtful and imaginative in their approach, and leaders that seek the truth. This is the kind of training that Arcadia will provide its students. This is the kind of struggle that we want our students to endure, a struggle of the heart and mind in search of truth. To struggle is the nature of memory, presentation, representation, imagination, and self-determination. To struggle is to seek liberation. To struggle is to put others first. To struggle is an awakening. To struggle is to find new ways of seeing and feeling. Our struggle has just begun, and we are about to embark on an amazing journey, a journey that will pave the way for others and change the landscape of higher education and the world around us forever. The truth, the truth, the truth shall set us free. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you.
And our ceremonies are about to draw to a close. My name is Jim Wagner. It's my joy, actually, to carry the title of President Emeritus of Emory University. You got that, didn't you? Ajay, thank you for that charge, really, to arm ourselves with the truth, to be set free, to pursue a greater justice and wholeness. But before I continue with the closing remarks, there is one more ceremonial duty to be attended to. Pyle, we need you to come forward to help us with this. Ladies and gentlemen, Pyle Nair. On behalf of the South Asian Desi Higher Education family and community, we have with us Vijay Kanagala, we have Avani Rana, and Dirk Rodricks, and they will be offering traditional shawls, flowers, garlands, and Desi sweets to honor President Nair and Pyle Nair. These are gifts, I understand, that are offered as cultural signifiers of new beginnings, respect, and celebration. Very appropriate, don't you think? Why don't you take that hat off? So I mentioned that I spent some time at Emory University, and while there, so was Ajay Nair. It was a pleasure to serve as a partner in leadership with him through most of his time there, and to come to know him as a friend as well. So I confess to a tremendous sense of pride on the occasion of Ajay's installation as Arcadia's 22nd president. And by the way, having recently been welcomed to the Arcadia Board of Trustees, I'm also filled with excitement for what his leadership will mean for this place. So on the heels of all those wonderful presentations that brought messages of greeting and salutation and congratulations to you, Ajay, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I want to offer hearty congratulations to Arcadia. And in so doing, to take the opportunity to share a little bit of what I know of Ajay and his family, and why we all can be excited about Arcadia's future under his leadership. First, if you haven't done so already, I predict that you will soon fall in love with President Nair and his family, his wife Pyle, son Krishna, daughter Ronnie, all of whom now have had roles this evening in this affair. I don't think that's supposed to happen. Thank you. You know, this family, this Nair family, actually is quite beloved in Atlanta at Emory University. I've got a true story for you. Last academic year, when Ajay announced that he would be coming here to Arcadia, the satirical student magazine, not always kindly disposed toward university administrators, but in this case, they reported, and I put that in quotes, that students at Emory had put together a petition to come before the Emory University Board of Trustees to demand, in fact, on a negotiation between Emory and Arcadia to merge the institutions and thus to retain the Nairs at Emory. You can Google it. This is a true story. So my first congratulations go to Arcadia for wooing them to be a part now of this Arcadia family. And although the family's part of the package, we're only giving a paycheck to Ajay. So just as his family surrounds and supports him at home, it is critical that as a community we surround and support him here. Ajay was hired to be an Arcadia Knight, but he was not hired with the expectation that he would be some sort of gallant knight on a heroically and single-handedly mission to address the multidimensional tasks of fighting the challenges before us in a world that has become uncertain of the role of residential liberal arts-based higher education. Instead of doing this solo, you and I know that Ajay was enlisted to be a leader of a marvelous band of faculty and students and staff and alumni and trustees and friends who together have the opportunity to recommit to our respective responsibilities in partnership with our new leader. This is not a moment to sit and wait with your hands folded just to see how the new kid might work out. Right? Yeah, that's worth it. Rather, it is a moment generously and confidently to commit in support of a capable leader with a clear vision for a role of higher education in these times. You know, Ajay aspires less to be known as a successful president than he does to be known as the president of a successful university. So congratulations, Arcadia, for having the wisdom to hire a leader and not merely a fixer. In Ajay Nair, we have a president who is a published scholar and brings experience as a successful administrator with a national reputation, someone who takes seriously the mission of higher education, but without taking himself too seriously. He's someone who laughs easily while drawing on humbling life experiences through which he identifies deeply with the needs and aspirations of the oppressed, as well as with the moral responsibilities of the privileged. He brings a very well-developed sense of moral compass. Countless times over the course of our work together at Emory University, Ajay would come to the conclusion of an argument or proposition about how best to address an opportunity or an issue, and he would conclude that and look at me by saying, "Jim, you know this is the right thing to do." His moral compass leads him to thoughtful consideration of the role of universities in matters of social justice. But as you are discovering, he understands that social justice is not about punishment and retribution and corrective action driven by anger or guilt from the past. It is instead, for him, a creative form of justice that seeks to change hearts, to understand the value of welcoming everyone into unrestricted access of possibilities. Ajay understands that changing hearts in this way frees minds frees minds to invite expanded partnerships that it can explore together spheres of creativity and possibility that have been limited in the past. And after all, listen to those words, freeing minds and preparing them to explore possibilities more fully is exactly the stuff of true education, is it not? We can be optimistic then about the successful pursuit of this sort of justice because of the chemistry here, because of President Nair coming to a place with an evident goodness that exists at this place. It's a goodness not to demur about, not to apologize for. Instead, it's a goodness to proclaim boldly. A goodness that is an advantage. It's one that can hone even sharper the edge of the sword of intellectual conquest. One that can help purify the flame of knowledge. And thus it complements the intellectual strengths of the faculty here. And when made part of the mix of training, education, and creativity that goes on here, it instills in Arcadia students not only an empowering can-do attitude, but also an aspirational can-be attitude, a can-be aspiration for a just world, and a world where personal success is hollow without corresponding community success. So congratulations, Arcadia, for attracting a man with a moral vision for the Academy. May God bless Arcadia and its partnership with its new leader. May God bless your family, Ajay, and may God bless you with wisdom and courage and strength and compassion to do well and to do good. Congratulations, Arcadia. Welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Wagner. Before we conclude our ceremony, I would like to make an announcement on behalf of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Nair, I am pleased to report that a group of Arcadia trustees has committed over $600,000 for presidential initiatives and other priorities of Arcadia University. This concludes our ceremony, and on behalf of Arcadia University, I would like to thank all of our speakers and performers today, and all who stay to celebrate with us tonight. I especially want to thank those of you who came from far away. I know some of you came from 20 minutes away, and some came from 20 hours away. So thank you all so much for the effort that you made to get here. It shows a great love and respect for Ajay Nair. And we hope now that you'll join us for a celebration on the Haber Green immediately following this event. The alumni group choir will now lead us in a rendition of the alma mater. And once the alma mater is finished, please remain standing as the platform party will recess back up to Gray Towers Castle. And thank you all again.
Arcadia, Glen Side is where I'm at now. Pops will take the rain and never back down. 1853 to 2018. 22nd press, so we know how the family. Arcadia, Glen Side is where I'm at now. Pops will take the rain and never back down. 1853 to 2018. 22nd press, so we know how the family. Time to take over from the castle up at top. Redefining what it means to be a brown boy every stop. It's justice for all, till the day I fall. Redefining culture, bro, we all gotta evolve. Struggle past the bad to make it to the good. Spread a message on the way, it should be understood. The city, your brothers, we gotta make peace. Love for all people, so the hate gotta decrease. 22nd prayers, get the place jumping. Nair's back to Philly, keep your heart rushing. 22nd prayers, get the place jumping. Nair's back to Philly, keep your heart rushing.